Welcome to another episode of the Blue Crew, a New York Rangers podcast on the Believe Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jonny Lazarus, joined with my good friend Avery Zaretsky. Cody will be hopping on shortly. Tough to have the positive vibes for this one off the bat, but going to try to stay in a good mood here, I feel like, and just do our best to get through this show. Obviously, this one sucks, but I'm not going to say too much off the bat. Avery, what are you feeling? What do you got going? And just to give a heads up to anyone listening, we're recording on Sunday at 6:15, so we've had, a little less than 24 hours to really soak this all in.
Yeah. First, your face is shaved, so that's nice.
Yeah, I got rid of the beard as soon as I could. I got compliments on it, but it was fucking itchy, and I did not love it.
It wasn't your look.
No, not for me. Not for me. But
first thing I just want to say thank you to everybody who's listened to this show. The culmination of my life as a Ranger fan, it's truly surreal that I get to do this. It's just insane, like, to get to talk and people want to hear what I have to say, and they support. I know you don't, but like they support the show. They wear the merch. They come up to us during games and say they love the podcast. Like, that to me means the most, and it keeps me, like, I was thinking, like, I don't know what I want to do. I'll get deeper into it, but it's hard when something like that happens and you start questioning everything. But you guys, the listeners, are a big reason why it's easier to push forward, right? So thank you guys. But it's so difficult because you feel like I'm 26 years old. I've been a Ranger fan my entire life. It's in my family blood. If you don't know, when the Rangers won the Cup in '94, my family held the sign, "Now I can die in peace." It's been such a big part of my life, and we didn't go on family vacations growing up because we had Rangers season tickets, and that was my life, and it still is. I live in Miami, but it's still a huge part of my life, and this team every year feels like a new relationship, and for me, when I have a relationship, I've had 3 girlfriends in my life, but whenever I have a relationship, I put 150% into it. I'm always, I care so much about
you're a simp.
Significant other. I'm a simp, and I'm a simp for the Rangers, and
that's the best thing. That's a quote right there.
And it's true, and I put so much into being a fan. 82 games, I'm locked in. I'm sitting on my couch, and there's times where I can't catch them all. But like, if I'm not on my by my TV, I'm on my phone watching the game. And this relationship has its moments, right? Like, you have the game at the Meadowlands, and it's amazing, and you can compare it to, like, hitting milestones in your relationship, and all these amazing things happen, right? But when the worst parts of your relationship happen, when something like last night happens, you start thinking about, why do I put so much time and effort into things that just end up breaking your heart? And I know you go through life and you find a significant other that eventually ends up being the one.
I'm starting to think this isn't about the Rangers.
Well, it's emotional. It's just such like a dude. I don't know.
Did you see an ex-girlfriend last night?
No, I'm just trying to speak from the heart in terms of like, I care so much about the New York Rangers. I put everything I have into them, everything I can, and I'm just heartbroken, and I don't know how to handle. Like, I can't even think about next year. I'm sure we have a ton of fan questions, and I want to answer them, but I don't know.
We'll do that. We'll do another episode after the exit meetings.
Yeah.
And just, I want to say, I don't mean to cut you off, but appreciate everyone who submits questions. We're not going to do them on today's show just because we want to talk, the 3 of us, when Cody hops on. But we will do them at some point this week.
Yeah. I guess basically what I'm trying to say is I'm having a tough time right now thinking about how I'm going to go into next season. And obviously, I'm always going to be a Rangers fan. It's a part of my life, but I don't know if I can lock into a regular season after everything that we've been through. Like it's just like I don't know.
First of all, I appreciate you speaking openly.
Yeah, it got a little
A little off topic there, I feel like
off
at a
topic,
certain
but
point.
it's like but it's comparable, right?
Yeah.
Like you find something that you love so much, and it just ends up breaking your heart every year. I say 26 years. I've been alive 26 years, but I've probably been conscious Ranger fan for 20. So it's like 20 years of just getting excited, getting ready, and it's just heartbreak after heartbreak after. And this one, I put so much faith into this team. I said throughout the whole way this team was going to win the Stanley Cup, and I truly felt it. I wasn't just saying it just to say it. I put everything I had and mentally into this. Like obviously I'm not on the ice and I can't do it for them, but mentally my brain was that this team was winning the Stanley Cup, and I'm heartbroken. And I wish I had something positive to say, but I don't.
Yeah. No, I think it's nice that you're just talking about your feelings or whatever, but I don't really know what I want to say. I don't know. It was my first full season like really covering the team, and that was cool and that was special. Just for new listeners of ours, this was the third full season, fourth season that we've had this show. It was originally called Believe in Rangers, then it was the Blue Yorker, and now it is the Blue Crew. Avery hopped on. This was Avery's first full season on our show, right? Like you did a couple shows last year, but first full season this year with Cody. Cody's been with me now for I think 3 full seasons. I did that first half season by myself, but this was the first one where the Rangers were like my job. And what made this cool, and also part of just like the commitment and whatever, I'd quit my full-time job last summer, and I'd spent a lot of my own money, to travel with the team and to go to games. And, I don't get my flights paid for or hotels paid for. So anytime I was on the road, it was out of my own pocket and whatnot, and travel and all that stuff. And, just like you, everyone's invested in their own way, right? Like you're invested in this team, and, it's obviously on the players on the ice, but like everyone feels a part of it, right? And that's the beauty of sports. And that's why I know you're sad today, but you will come back in October and you'll be just as fired up as you were last October. It's just how it goes. Like these first couple weeks, they suck, but once the summer gets going and you miss hockey, you're like, fuck, I can't wait for the Rangers season to start. And that's a positive right now, is that we won't have to wait that long. We got 2.5 months maybe till training camp starts rolling up around again, and then we're back at it. So my initial thoughts though, like the game, I was out for the game. I was going to watch it originally on my couch, but I had friends at a bar watching it. So I didn't want to like just be alone, honestly, and watch it.
Yeah.
So I actually ended up rewatching the game this morning, which is kind of funny because I just put myself in misery twice. But
That's insane.
Yeah, insane. And listen, I felt way worse about the Rangers last year than I do now. Like to me, going into this season, there were a lot of questions and a lot of what ifs that I think were answered. And I think that's something you can kind of look at and understand and take into next season, that we have those answers and use it in a positive way. Some of those questions going in were, is Vinny Trocheck that guy? Like, can he be a big part of this team after what was somewhat of a underwhelming year last year? And Trocheck proved it. Can Lafreniere be a number 1 overall pick and be, maybe one of the go-to guys? I think he answered that. I think he can be. And if anything, maybe he could be the guy at one point sooner than later. And then, obviously there was no real concern about him, but he delivered again. Was Peter Laviolette the right hire, the right voice? Pretty clear to me that I think he is. That staff will be back. It's a foundation and a standard that was set this year. Granted, they didn't reach the ultimate goal, but we're talking about a team that didn't really make us sweat too much through the first 2 rounds, which you don't really get very often. So I think there is some things to be appreciative of with this season. Like, we can get into this question because it's a question obviously we're all going to ask, and every player will tell you, and most people will tell you this season is a disappointment or a failure. I don't know, from my perspective, obviously the cup is the goal, but I don't know if I can sit here and say this is a total failure, because I remember how I felt going into the year, and had I found out the Rangers would be 6 wins away from the Stanley Cup at the end of the year, I would have been very happy with that. Like, there was a lot of unknown, a lot of uncertainty. We're talking about a roster on opening night that had Nick Bonino, Blake Wheeler. There was just so many different questions and things that we didn't know.
Yeah.
And it was a magical run, man. Like, it's one of those that it just stings because it sucks, because it felt like everything was going our way. But what I can also sit here and say honestly is that, like, there wasn't a real point in that series where I felt like the Rangers were in control of it. And that's kind of what's made it easier to accept. Like the Devils series, they're up 2-0. The Devils look like they had no business being in it. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they wake up and they're alive, and then we lose that series. The Tampa series, that one was magical too. We go up 2-0 at home, then go up 2-0 in game 3, and then all of a sudden this flip is switched, and then that's out of our hands. This one the whole way. Cody's now joining, and Cody, will let you just kind of jump into your feelings.
You said this. Also, you said this flip is switched.
Switch is flipped.
Yeah,
okay. Switch is
that would
flipped.
be it. It was funny.
Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah, I need.
But you know what I mean? Like, this was the one series I feel like where, in the last couple of years, where like it never felt like they had overcome that.
I know. You go through 82 games. You go from October to June, and I said it before, 20 years, and it just hasn't been done for me. That's where the disappointment comes in. I understand that, there's a lot of positives for this team going forward, but I also just think that this is my buy-in was full 150% on Team of Destiny. Like, this was the year, and it just wasn't. So I think that's where the disappointment comes in.
Cody, let's hear your initial thoughts. It's been a pretty emotional opening 12 minutes here.
Yeah, it sucks.
Connect your mic, by the way. I don't know if your mic's connected.
It's not.
Yeah, it's probably not. Yeah, I mean, it sucks, right? Like, that's it. It sucks. It was a tough series. We never really, we all watched it, right? Like, they never really overcame what they needed to get past the Panthers. They kind of just got bullied the whole series. You thought, listen, the team was special, yes, but you thought they were special enough that somehow they were just going to find a way. I mean, they did that all season, right? Like, even last night, Panarin.
I thought they were going to tie it up. I really did.
Right?
I did.
I didn't think they were going to tie it up. I knew they were going to lose. But when he scores that goal, you're like,
it was like, and the fact that it was Panarin,
you're like, holy shit. Okay, they have a minute and 30 seconds. Can something crazy happen? Like, the thoughts ran through your head, and that, I don't think I wasn't even nervous yesterday until they scored the second goal. When they scored the second goal, I was like, holy shit, this team's actually not it, huh?
Yeah.
It's just tough, right? I mean, it's tough. They got outplayed, and I think the Panthers are probably going to kick the shit out of the Oilers if the Oilers end up winning, but which sucks because I think we would have too. But it is what it is. I mean, the thing that hurts the most for me, and I said this all year, like, I mean, I think I said this in the offseason to you, Johnny. I think even before, like, Avery was like part of the crew, like, this team wasn't building a dynasty, right? Like, they weren't. They were building for one championship. They were gearing up for one championship, and like, everybody thought this was the year. And I just don't know how this team is going to get any better. And that's the thing that hurts, I think, for me the most, because they're in cap hell, dude. They're in cap hell. I mean, you can say they'll get better because they have Othman and Perreault in the pipeline, totally. But like, playoffs are different, man. And when you get there, right, you need vets who are putting up goals and putting up points in big moments. Like, we weren't getting that all series in the Panthers. Like, I just don't see how this team can get better and get over the hump. Like Panthers are I'm pretty sure they're just as young as we are. They're like right around the same age, their core. So it's
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
The
what
problem is that you can't build a dynasty, right? Like there's 32 teams. It's so hard to win. It's like winning the lottery. And I don't know.
But teams do it though. That's the thing. Teams do it. The Lightning did it. Panthers back to back in the cup.
Now there's more teams.
Can I say one thing about Florida too, though? Which just to Cody's Othman-Perot comment, also like something I've been thinking about a little bit. I'm sure I'm going to talk about it tomorrow on Morning Cup of Hockey, but like Florida's a team where you can kind of make the argument like you don't necessarily have to build through the draft. Like I know their two guys are Ekblad and Barkov, who I believe were both like those are 1 and 2 picks.
Yeah.
Like I'm almost positive Ekblad was a 1 overall and Barkov was a 2nd overall.
Yeah.
And granted, those two panned out, but like you look at the rest of their team, it's guys like Verhaeghe and Reinhart and
Kachuk,
Montour,
Bennett,
like guys
Forsling.
who were picked up in
Forsling
trades.
was DFA'd.
Forsling was a guy on waivers, wasn't he? Like,
yeah, dude.
Like it's guys that they've kind of picked up along the way. So, I kind of think back to our deadline conversation and we're talking about like protecting prospects or saving picks. And it's like, I don't know how necessarily important that really is at the end of the day. Like, I know you want to have a good future. You don't want to you don't want to salvage everything for one chance at it, but I don't know.
But here's the thing. The Panthers built their team differently than we did. And I think Drury built the team wrong. Listen, at the time, everybody was excited about certain moves he made. And I still think he made some good moves. But, locking up Fox, obviously the right move.
Yeah.
I know Panarin wasn't Drury, but like you had to do it at the time. No brainer, regardless of how he played the playoffs. But then there's obviously like, the Mika contract. Now you're looking back at it and you're like, oh shit. Like, there's the argument could be made like Mika is not a 1C. Like, I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like the argument could be made. And it's just tough knowing that like we got the shit kicked out of us and out-muscled the entire series. And, they threw in Matt Rempe, I think in 4 of the 6 games. And like, he didn't do shit. Like, they
didn't
threw
really
in
play him either.
But that's what I'm saying, though. They threw in our big guy, and they're like, "Oh yeah, he's gonna scare the shit out." Like, dude, they have like 5 guys like that who were just. But I can't even count the amount of times we just got checked in the face yesterday, and somebody got taken down. There was like 8 different shifts where a Rangers player just got fucking leveled, and the Panthers just kept playing and moving the puck forward. Like they built their team like straight up like gritty, edgy, tough, and like. That's something, I know we were like, okay, we need to get faster, but like that's something we're lacking, man. Like, I mean, like that we were looking at a 21-year-old kid to be our savior in terms of toughness. If you think about it, like that's crazy. That's crazy.
I do think the Panthers deserve a lot of credit though. Like they are a very fucking good team. They are. They're a very good team. And, before you hopped on, Cody, I was saying like, that's kind of what makes it for me just a little bit easier to grasp. It didn't feel like the Rangers let one. I don't want to say they didn't let it slip away because they were right there in it. Every game in this series is a 1-goal game in the third period or in overtime. Like they were in it. They were in it, but I felt like they never had control of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they were kind of just hanging on and hanging on and hanging on and hanging on.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? Like. Avery coined team of destiny, right? You were thinking like, yes, they were hanging on, they were getting outplayed. Okay, they were down 3-2, but there's that little sliver of hope that they're gonna just turn the corner and then explode, and it just didn't happen. I mean, you listen. I said this all series long. I think you guys did too. Like they needed their big guys to show up, and they didn't. And that's what it comes down to, right? Like you had guys like Loff and Trocheck who are big guys. Don't get me wrong, but they're middle. Like before these playoff series, like they're their 4th, 5th, 6th best players on the team. Like their top 4 players didn't show up. And like Kreider was inconsistent, but like, he did a little more than the other guys. But like, and who knows? Fox is probably playing on one leg. We're going to hear he had like a torn ACL or something like that. But dude, Fox, Kreider, Panarin, Mika, like their guys didn't show up. And that's why they lost this series. Kachuk was an animal. And, Sean Avery said it. He's a fucking savage. Okay. And then Bennett scored, I think, 3 games in a row against us. Like, it's just, like Barkov is there.
Barkov's so good.
He's so good making
so
plays. Good. Like Barkov was doing like making plays and creating space, what I was hoping Panarin was going to do the entire series. That's what Barkov was doing to us. And then, I mean, like, fucking Mikola was like on our team last year, and the dude
he was actually
find his skates in front of him, and he was a beast.
Yeah.
He was a beast. Like it just, I don't know, man. I mean, to me, it's, and I see Avery there in silence, probably thinking about like ice cream or something like that, but I don't blame him. Like, I don't know. I just don't know if this team, I don't know what this team can do to get over the edge now. I'm at a puzzle because they have 6 guys that have no movement clauses and are fucking locked up for the next 3 to 6 years.
I kind of want to, unless Avery had something to say, I just kind of want to read the stats out that Cody was just saying, just so like people can have an idea of like who produced what. So the leading scorers in this series, 3 guys tied with 6 points. Sam Bennett, Carter Verhaeghe, and Vinny Trocheck all had 6 points. Bennett 4 goals, Verhaeghe 3 goals, Trocheck 2 goals. Then you go down the list. Matthew Tkachuk 1 goal, 4 assists, 5 points. Alexis Lafreniere 4 goals, no assists, 4 points. Gustav Forsling 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points. And then it's Panarin and Barkov, who both had 4. Like Barkov only had 4 points in that series, but I would have guessed he had 10.
Yeah, but also like, dude, Panarin, 3 of his 4 points were like secondary assists.
Yeah,
like they were,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like it's just like the production really, if you look at it, it doesn't look that different. But
because dude, it was 2-1 games.
Yeah, but
3 to 2 games.
It felt so different,
And the reason it felt different is because we had Igor Shesterkin, and that was the only difference in 4 out of those 6 games. Not, 3-2 and 2-1, not being like 5-2 and 4-1. Like that was the only difference. It would have felt a lot different if we had a different goalie in net. And I really feel for the guy. Like you saw Trocheck went and consoled him after the game, right? Like, because he knows the team didn't do what they needed to do for Igor. Like Igor, it just sucks because like, I don't know if Igor could ever give us a series like that, like a season, like a playoff run like that again. Like, dude, he threw it all on the line, man. Like he threw it all on line. I don't know.
Have you anything to say? Nothing. Just done.
Making him more sad.
Well, no, I think here's kind of the real question. Like, do you believe that this core can get it done?
Nope. I don't,
You don't
anymore. Nope. I don't, because, and I'll tell you the reason why. What do you consider this core? Because Othman and Perreault,
that was my next question.
Yes, because Othman and Perreault, that's a different story. The problem is
those guys already. You don't even like. You haven't seen.
I've been watching Othman since he's like fucking 9 years old. You know that.
Yeah.
But what I will say is, no, I don't think so. I hate to say it. I really do. But like, dude, they're gonna run into the Panthers every single fucking year if they get to the Eastern Conference Finals. Like a team like the Panthers is going to be there, and like I don't know how they're going to be able to get like hear me out. Every team that's in playoffs right now, like let's just rewind the clock to yesterday, on their top line have 3 top guys except the Rangers. We were fucking playing a bottom 6 guy on
Just
our top
rotating.
wing because we're rotating because we have nobody there. And that's a big fucking problem. It's a big problem, and I have no idea how they'll be able to fix that unless it ends up being Perreault or Othman, because they're in cap hell forever. Like they're literally in cap hell and the cap's not increasing much.
Sounds like they could have used Frank Petrano.
But dude, even Vetrano, man, he's like he's a middle guy. He's not a like
30-goal scorer. What do you mean?
Yeah, he had a great season. I know. I'm a big Frank advocate, but
and it worked in 2022.
I mean,
it did.
Listen, Frank Vetrano would have been better than having Wenberg on the top line. I'll tell you that much. The Wenberg thing is puzzling to me because he's a defensive guy and he's not a scorer. It just makes no sense.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's so weird because I don't even think Lavi got out-coached. Like, I don't even think he got out-coached. I think they just like were the better team.
Well, there was really like just I don't want to say out-coached either, but like there was just no response for what Florida had. Like the Rangers
What could
had,
you
they had,
do?
they had a hard time scoring goals. They had a hard time scoring on the power play. It was just they just had no answer.
Listen, the only thing they could have done, which is what I put in our group chat the day before, and I said there's no way they'll have the guts for it, was to move Panarin up onto that top line and absolutely blow the top 6 lines up and just stack them. That was the only way. That was the only way you might have a burst and find some offense if you put like Panarin, Kreider, Trocheck, Mika, whatever. I don't know.
Well, what did the power play finish at? Like 1 for 15 in the series?
Horrible.
Like that's really what it comes down to at the end of the day. If they get 2 or 3 more, it's a different outcome in those games. I think that is actually the truth of what went wrong in this series is their power play went stale when we've known that's what's driven them all year is they feed off of it. They do.
I think it's a combination of that, but I think also more so they really let the Panthers get to them and took some really dumb penalties, and the Panthers capitalized on every single one. Like the Trouba stuff, the like Lindgren stuff, every time there's a dumb penalty that we were just like, why would he do that? The Panthers scored on that capital. Like they capitalized on our faults. And, I don't know, like some of it takes discipline. I mean, like Trouba's the fucking captain of this team, and not to bash in this guy. I'm sure he's heard it enough, but like you're the captain of this team. How are you taking stupid penalties like 10 years into your career in an Eastern Conference Finals game? Like, why are you diving into players and grabbing their stick and throwing it out when it's like a 1-1 game? It's just like, I get the leadership thing, and, I get he's a big leader off the ice, but dude, like, I don't know. It just really frustrates me because that's just
so bad.
It was so bad, and it's just not the characteristics of a leader on the ice. So it's just, I don't know, really pissed me off.
I'm trying to think of something to get Avery back in the mix here. Do you,
Avery? I didn't hear what you said, so fucking repeat it.
Avery went on a fucking tangent.
It's like I just said basically every season starts a new relationship, and I just get my heart broken after every giving it all I had, investing everything mentally into it. And I just get my heart broken every single year.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much longer I can invest myself as much as I have.
Cody,
I'll always be a Rangers fan for the rest of my life. Like I'm stuck, but I don't know how much investment I can give in an 82 game season. Like I have to wait a full another year to get back to this point. And like I said, it's like winning the lottery. You could have the best lineup in the world, and the playoffs are a different animal.
Yeah. Johnny,
they won the President's Trophy.
I was just gonna say Juan Soto just hit a 2-run shot in the 9th.
I know. Okay. Well, I was just gonna make a Yankees analogy to what Avery was saying. Like that's Johnny knows. My Yankee and Rangers fandom are very, very similar. Very, very similar. Like they both crush me and they both ruin my lives. But I've always leaned a little bit like the slightest bit more towards the Yankees because I grew up playing baseball my whole life, and I'm just a baseball guy. Like it's born and bred. So, but when they lost that like third ALCS or I guess second ALCS third time to the Astros, like dude, that for me was kind of what you're feeling now, because I was like, holy shit, they might actually like never win with this core ever. I was like, holy crap, they need to blow it up. And then, last year they missed the playoffs. Sure enough, that's what it took for like ownership to be like, okay, we need to fix this team. And, they traded for Alex Verdugo and Juan Soto and signed a couple guys, and now they're the best team in baseball. So like my point is, it's like, it's crushing right now, and you're very stuck in the fandom because it's who we are, right? Like we live for the sports. Like we think about the Rangers, and I think about the Yankees too. And I know you're a Yankees guy too, Avery. Johnny thinks about like pickleball, and it's like we think about that shit like the morning of the games. Like we wake up and we're like, today is game day. And that's because we love these teams so much. And it's just like, we like ride and die with them. And it's just tough. Like I'm just thinking about the analogy.
But here's my thing. I understand. Like use the Yankee reference. They're the best team in baseball right now. They could fucking go in the playoffs and lose in the first round.
Yeah.
And that's what the Rangers have been. They won the President's Trophy this year, and they didn't get it done. And in my lifetime, they've been to the Stanley Cup, they've been to the Eastern Conference Final, they've been to the second round, and they just don't win. And then they rebuilt or retooled, whatever you want to call it. And they
can we bring that up?
They put out a letter, and they brought a new owner, new management, and they brought in new coaches, and it's just every damn year I try so hard to be positive. You know me, I'm the beacon of hope. And how much more faith can I put into an organization that has just crushed my heart every single season of my life?
Well, I was going to say you mentioned the rebuild, and
don't do this to me.
Well, no, we're not that far from when we were in one. Like David Quinn was the coach of this team 3 years ago. Like you kind of think about that. They were ahead of schedule in 2022. Last year's disappointing. This year's kind of like where they should have been. And now it's like next year, maybe they learn from this year and get over that. Like, you know what I mean? Like these are all learning experiences. And Cody, that's what we were saying before you hopped on. Like there were a lot of questions going into this season about Kakko, about Lafreniere, Trocheck, and what these guys mean to the team and what they can be. And I think a lot of the questions were answered, and I think that's something you can look at also. And again, like the next question I'm going to ask you guys, probably the last one I ask you guys is, there's probably a couple people that we won't see in a Ranger jersey again next year. And I'm curious to ask you guys who you think those guys might be.
I don't know, but I don't have an attachment to anybody right now.
Yeah. I think I honestly, and I said this morning to all you guys, like there are 5 players on the Rangers right now that I'm like, build around them. They're the future. Like if they want to win a cup, like it's got to be around these guys. And to me, it's like, it's Loff, it's Igor, it's Fox, even though Fox was hurt, it's Schneider, and it's Trocheck. Like those are the 5 guys. And then you got to build around that because those are the 5 guys who are gamer.
Miller.
Cooley and Miller too.
There's other guys on the team who obviously can be part of the team. They're not just going to dump everybody. It's impossible.
Yeah.
But to me, those are the 5 guys that I saw in these playoffs, like just throw everything they had at Fox aside, obviously. But
Fox still did, dude. Yeah, I think Fox deserves a little more credit, honestly. Like,
I also still think, and people are probably going to combat this, but I still think Panarin should be on the Rangers. I do.
Yeah.
Hear me out. Panarin's not going anywhere. He's my favorite player in hockey. That said, I'm very disappointed I feel like it only happens to the fucking Rangers, and this is what you're going on, Avery. Like it's only us where our superstar athlete doesn't perform when we need him to. Like I always feel like it's only fucking us, and I'm just sick of it, honestly.
Yeah. I was talking to Jonny about this a little bit before we recorded, and I don't really have much to say like on this.
We'll wrap it up here shortly. We'll wrap it up.
But what makes a guy like Tkachuk apart from Panarin is he has the physical aspect, right? Like they both had the same amount of points. I don't think Tkachuk was like a superstar in the series. He was just, like you said, an animal. Like Sean Avery puts it, like he goes in the corners, he gets the puck, and I think that's what separates him from Panarin. But Panarin is still a superstar. He just needs to figure out how to change his game to a different level in the playoffs. But I still think that he means so much to this franchise. He's a player that gets you into the playoffs.
Love Panarin.
I love Panarin.
He's a player. He's a player that
twice and trade him for Tkachuk.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I still think
it's not.
What do you say?
Johnny knows, and I will say this: Johnny knows for years. I have loved Matthew Tkachuk for years.
Oh, you said trade him for Tkachuk. Oh,
yeah, I think anyone would trade anyone for Tkachuk.
I thought you said you wouldn't think twice trading him.
Oh no. That's absurd. No. I'm saying if we're in this series and you're offering me an out and you're like, hey, you can trade Panarin for Kachuk, I'm not thinking twice about it. I mean, it's
Right.
just
I think most people would do that.
I just think overarching, like he's the guy that gets you to where you need to be. He just needs to figure out how to continue through. And I think that saying that we should trade him over there are countless names is crazy. There's way more people in the pecking order that should be.
So, yeah, I mean, anyways, I want to get back to Johnny's original point. And, before we do that, I'm going to talk some contracts. But before I do that, I wanted to talk about one of our sponsors, BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for the NHL and NBA playoffs this season. Every stat, matchup, and even line odds while the games are being played. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our 150 slot games. Head to the website today, get in on the action. Don't forget to use the promo code BLEAV, your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's BLEAV. BetOnline is always where the game starts. Now, I want to get back to the contracts of this team. So, what we have is Artemi Panarin is locked up for the next 2 years at $11.643 million. Okay. Hold your breath. Mika is locked up at $8.5 million a year for the next 7 years. 7 years. That is until 2029, 2030 season. He has the longest contract on our team. After that, Chris Kreider, we got him for 3 more years at 6.5. I'll take that all day. Best contract in hockey, we got Trocheck at 5.625 for the next 5 years. Hedl is going to be a tough one to swallow, I'm starting to think, but we will see, is 4.437 for the next 3 years. Gaudreau, 3.6, worth every fucking penny. Right, boys? Next 3 years. And then here we get into the interesting part. Oh no, sorry. We have Brodsey too, we got $787K for the next couple years. But then from forwards, we have a bunch of guys who are on their last year. So that's Lafreniere, Edstrom, Cooley, Rempe, VC. They're all on their last year. And then Kakko's an RFA. Obviously, all the guys we traded for are signed in the offseason are UFAs. So that's Roz, that's Berge, that's Wheeler, that is Gustafson, and then who else do we have? And then on defense, we have Keandre for 1 more year. We have Zach Jones for 1 more year, which is very interesting. We have Trouba for 2 more years at $8 million. Awesome. And then we have Fox for 5 more years at 9.5. And lastly, we have Igor and Quick both for 1 more year. So, all that said, what do you guys think?
About what? Everyone?
Yeah.
Well, that's where you were going with this?
Yeah.
I think the biggest fear is Igor's contract coming up soon. And if there's no extension there, I will get worried, because if it's not for him, I don't know what the hell happens here. Not that I would think he wants to go anywhere else, but you never know. So this window is open as long as Igor's here, in my opinion.
Okay.
You guys?
Avery? Nope.
I mean, you just read through the whole damn fucking roster.
My biggest, well,
just asked that.
What?
You could have just asked, like,
well, no, I wanted you to see from a lens of why we're so fucked. Is what I wanted you to see, number one. And number two, we have some really hard decisions to make because we have like 3 or 4 RFAs, including Schneider, Lindgren, and Kakko. So some decisions to be made.
Well, I think Kakko's gone.
He's got to.
I don't think he's gonna want. He probably wants a better opportunity for himself.
I don't blame him.
Yeah, I think it's the best. I think it's the best thing for both parties here. You know.
Okay. What do they do with Loff? I mean, they got to lock him up. He's got 1 year left. Like there's so many. Here's what I was alluding to. There's a lot of
Lindgren might be gone too.
What?
I think Lindgren might be gone too.
Yeah. I mean, how can he not be? How are they going to afford him? That's what I'm alluding to. Is they have all these fucking guys that are locked up for 3+ years, okay, except for Panarin and Trouba, who are 2, and Drury and Gorton decided to give every fucking guy and their mother a no trade clause. So what are we going to do? That's what I'm getting at.
So funny. Alex just sent a tweet in here.
I heard him on the pod, dude. Oh, yeah. That
funny.
dude fucking blew it.
Yeah, Alex just sent that in here. But listen, man, we can dive into that more, I feel like, in the summer, when we talk free agency and whatnot. I think just gotta, we'll get there.
I don't even want to talk free agency.
Yeah, we'll get there. But also, I don't have any more thoughts. If you guys want to wrap this show up tonight, I will just say we'll record again, I think, after exit interviews, maybe, just to, if anything happens in those that's worth talking about. But I guess just to wrap it up, do you guys have anything? Cody?
No, but when is free agency?
July 1.
July 1.
But I just want to say again, we love everyone that has supported this show. We've picked up so many new listeners, which has been amazing. And Cody, I mentioned this before you hopped on. Like, this is our first full season with Avery. We're hoping to continue to do more and more, and I know it's going to get harder and harder with just how our lives work. But it's been a very, very, very fun experience just doing this a lot. So really appreciate all you guys that listen. And
I mean, it's crazy. The last 2 months we've been in the top 6 in hockey podcast. Like, yeah, it's unbelievable. And
wild.
And you guys are the best. It means the world.
Yeah.
But,
and most importantly, we feel your pain. We feel your pain. Trust us.
Yeah. All right, Cody, send it off.
All right. Can we do it together? I don't know if I have the gut.
Nope.
Okay. LFGR, baby.